case study on internet use violations and using Standard 5. First thing we have to do is identify the problem and analyze that problem. We start off with what we do know. We begin by knowing some of the history and the experience of Miss Walker in our school system. We also know that students are likely to experience a lot of stress in her classroom. This has been an issue we've dealt with in the past. And in the past, we've also given her some strategies to deal with, and she has ignored those strategies. And this would have helped her relieve some of that stress in the classroom and increase the positive relations with students. So what do we need to know in this problem? We need to know the specifics about the website and its content, what was on this website, and we need to know where the message originated from, if possible. We also need to know any recent incidents involving Ms. Walker that might indicate to us where to look for the source. So our plan of action, first we're going to get proof of the possible threat and assure Ms. Walker that this will be taken care of in some way. We also need to try to determine the source of the threat and possibly the reason, if we can come up with that. Also, anyone that we find who is involved in this, we need to find out the discipline that they will need and take care of that as necessary. So first, we're going to assure Ms. Walker that we are taking the call seriously, that we're not going to ignore that. We will be taking care of this problem, and we know that it is a problem. This is nothing that she should go through. And by doing that, we're going to first get some proof by printing out the email and the message that we have right now in front of us and get a hard copy of the URL that Ms. Walker sent over also, so that we have those things as proof. They might disappear off the internet, and in the meantime, we want to get proof of them. The next thing, if we can, is to determine the source of where this came from. This might help a lot in our accusation stage. So if we can, use the technologist to find the source of the email and the message. Also, during our talk in the morning with Randy Franks, find out if we can, through him, whether he was the source of the email and the message. But we have to be careful not to be accusatory at this point. We just are trying to find information right now. And we need to also talk to other students in the class to see what they might be able to tell us about the situation that's going on. If we do find that Randy is involved, we need to deal with him according to the discipline policy that we have at the school. Also, if other students are involved, we need to deal with them in the same way. I do believe that in this case we need to contact the police and report this incident to the proper authorities, because this is a very serious thing. A threat against someone's safety or possibly their life is definitely a serious threat and should go beyond the depths of the school. And of course, if we do find students are involved, we need to contact their parents and fill them in on what we have found and how we have arrived at that information. In resolving this issue, we need to deal with the discipline, of course, for anybody who is involved with this and make sure that we follow our policy according to that discipline. We need for students and staff to feel like this discipline is there for a reason and it gives them a feeling of safety. We need to make sure that we are focusing on what's best for the students from the administrator's point of view. The second thing, we need to work with Ms. Walker again and take a look at her classroom and investigate that a little bit more as far as her dealing with stress in the classroom and possibly the way that she deals with the students. We need to make sure that we also focus on what's best for the students from her position in her own classroom. And then it would be a good idea also to send a note home with students explaining how serious threats of this type are very dangerous, what they are. The competition is good, but it can be taken too far. So we want to make sure that parents are also considering the student success, not only of their own children, but of the entire student body. So reflecting back on this case, I will have three different parts of this reflection: my thoughts, feelings, and then valuing. First, my thoughts. And of course, thinking, my first thought might be that this teacher in some way brought it on herself because she ignored the strategies that I had given her earlier. Now, I wouldn't say that she was to blame, but we do have to realize that I gave her strategies for a particular reason, and that was to reduce stress levels. By ignoring this, she allowed those stress levels to stay where they were, and that might be what caused this incident in the first place. Also, we need to make sure that the parents aren't losing sight of the big picture and pushing their children on their end of it also.
these students that we're speaking about, according to the scenario, are under stress to begin with. And we know that this stress not only comes from the school, but sometimes can come from the parents. And it would be nice if we let parents know what's possibly going on, have them understand and take a look at what is more important in this case. Also, one of the things that I'm thinking about are the pros and cons of our academic competition in the first place. And of course, the stress that we put on students ourselves. When we have class rankings, we have salutatorian, valedictorian. These things put stress on students, and it's just making me think of those things. Not necessarily whether we need to do away with them, but the pros and cons of our push on academics. As far as feelings, I do have a feeling that Miss Walker had a chance to take care of some of this problem in the beginning. And it might be because she doesn't have very much experience in the classroom. And it could be because of arrogance to some degree, coming into a position with not only a bachelor's degree but also a master's degree, and coming in with those great credentials. It might have spawned a little bit of arrogance on her part. Also, I'm feeling angry that students would do this in the first place, whether it was someone who was feeling a lot of stress and was worried about their grade, whether it was someone just out for revenge. Regardless, the fact that a student would do this, or that anyone would do this to another person, is something that bothers me and makes me feel angry about something that's happened there that's made them feel this way. And I'm also worried about the negative impact that this is going to have on the school. We have a really good record up till now, and I don't want that threatened. I don't want to lose that good reputation that we've worked so hard to build. And then valuing, I am of course wondering about my decision to hire Miss Walker in the first place. She did have very good credentials, but very little experience teaching. And it gives me a better idea of the value of a seasoned teacher. Somebody who does have the experience of being in a classroom, and they may not have gone on to get a master's degree in whatever, but they do have a definite value in the fact that they have the experience with the students. And then also the academic part of it that we were talking about before, just like with the credentials that Miss Walker brought to the school, we need to make sure that we let students know that they are not being judged based on their academic rank. We don't think less of them if they're not at the top of the class. In fact, we need to understand ourselves that sometimes the student with the highest ranking might need pity rather than being revered for the great academic work that they have done. I believe that sometimes the pressure that is on these kids is just overwhelming, and it's a sad thing to see. I also am worried about the value that people put on other people. That's something that we should all worry about. But to see that these students would be willing to threat, even if it's a prank, but be willing to threat somebody else's well-being, it's kind of a scary thing that we see in our culture, and it's something that definitely worries me, and I worry about what value we've put on human life sometimes. There's still some open and unresolved issues that we need to look to. First, we need to look at the rigor and the high expectations that are going on in Ms. Walker's class. Should they actually be changed, or is it just something that's going on with the students in that particular classroom? Another thing that we might look at is our discipline policy. Is it dissuading people from doing, or students from doing, things that they shouldn't be doing? Has it kind of become a joke to students, or are we doing a good job of being consistent and enforcing that discipline? And then also, we need to look at other classes. Is it possible that Miss Walker's class has the high expectations that all of our classes should have? Are the rest of our classes being a little bit too easy on the students? We need to make sure and look at both sides of this issue, not just the one. And then, taking a look at Standard 5, we're going to deal with three components. First, Component 1 demonstrates a sense of integrity and ethical behavior. I believe that as an administrator, I did demonstrate these things by taking the threat seriously and assuring Ms. Walker that this would be taken care of. I wanted to make sure that I did my job. I did not come back at her with a revenge type of an attitude, saying that you should have listened to me. I need to make sure that I am showing integrity by dealing with this in the way I should. Also, I need to investigate the involvement of the students that were named by Ms. Walker, but not just accuse them, even though she brought up their names, but to investigate and actually try to find out the truth in this case. Component 2 asks if the administrator acted with fairness. And I believe that speaking with Randy Franks before actually accusing him of, or his friends of the threats against Ms. Walker is definitely the fair way to do that. I don't believe that the accusation from a teacher should go directly to a student without first finding some facts. And also treating the threat seriously, again, rather than blaming Ms. Walker for the problem because of what happened earlier. I think that also is fair to her. There is no way to say that this would have happened if she had followed my advice. So I need to be fair in this case also. And then also, component 3, that a leader demonstrates a personal and professional code of ethics. I tried not to pick a side in the case, but to look at all the information and find out the facts first. You want to give students and staff the benefits of the doubt. When the truth is finally found out, which it generally will be, then one can go to the next stage. But until then, you've got to make sure that the staff and the students both understand that you are on their side. And then also I wanted to make sure, again, to ensure the safety of Ms. Walker. That's probably the most important thing here. She's had a threat made on her, and we want to make sure that she's okay. And we want to not let this happen again, so we want to use this incident as a way of changing what's going on, again, for the success of the students. That has got to be our main focus. So we need to look to do the best that we can to protect our staff and our students as a leader. But everything needs to point back to what we can do to promote the success of our students.